Hi, my name is Joshua, and in this video we want to talk about two very interesting admin search plugins. The first one is, and shout out to Jens Becker from JHB Software. He created a very interesting plugin, or actually multiple plugins, which you should check out under his GitHub and under Payload plugins, but specifically want to look today at the admin search plugin. And this is used very simply. You can press Command K when you install it, and you can search across various collections. And because it relies internally on the Payload search plugin, it also has pretty powerful search. So if I want to look for specific tags, which I included here through the search plugin, we can simply open this document and then we have it. Or we can jump around, we can open a page from this, or we can open a product. So this is really interesting to jump around between documents and finding them really fast. The second plugin we want to look at is from VeiaG, or Palamar Roman, sorry if I pronounced this wrong. He created a very interesting plugin named Payload Command, which is also kind of an admin search plugin, but you can also add custom actions and do more stuff. If you would like to find a specific post, for example, we can go here into posts and search, okay, post, they all have post in their title, another, and we can jump to this post as well. But besides this, you can create specific actions in this command plugin, like going to site settings or going to a global. You can add links, so this goes to the payload docs, or many more things. You can also do API calls from this that could clear your cache or whatever. Like, the possibilities are endless with this. Now, in the following video, we want to show you how to set both of these plugins up and what options you have with them, and then at the end, basically decide for which cases we can use which plugin and what makes more sense. Now, let's get started. First, we want to start with the JHB plugin from Jens Becker. For this, we need to install the Payload Search plugin. So we type npm I payload and install it. The next thing we need is the plugin from JHB, which you can find easily under jhb.software/payload admin search. After this, you can jump in right into your payload config. One small advice: if you run into any error that has to do with the import map, this plugin depends on you running the import map command. So if you get some error, one thing you can try is just run npx payload generate import map, and it should work after this. Now, what we want to do is we want to configure the admin search plugin from JHB, and we also want to configure the search plugin from Payload. What I already did is create some collections, namely pages, posts, and products, and these collections in turn have an array with tags. We want these tags also be searchable, which is why we override the array with a simple text, and then we assign this we join the array of the tags into a single string, and we append it here into the text string, and we also append it to the title, which means that these tags are then easily searchable within the admin search. Like this, you see the tags are appended here, and I can look for food and will find all documents that have the tag food. The next thing that we want to configure is the admin search plugin itself. We have two options with this. Right now, the bar option is enabled, which means that you will see this bar at the top. You can also click it and it will just open the admin search. The other option that you have is using the button option. And this means instead of this search bar, you just get the small button. Both of them at the end work in the same way. It's basically just a layout question, how you like it more. Yes, but that is basically it. What you can change about this plugin. The setup is very easy, it's very powerful, as it works with the search plugin from Payload. So yeah, let's jump to the next plugin. To make use of the VeiaG Payload Command Plugin, you only need to install one npm package, which is npm install VeiaG Payload Command. And we install it. After we have installed that, we can also jump right into our payload config. And here we want to configure our payload command plugin. The configuration of this is a little bit more involved because you have more options to configure this. First option you see is the blur background. Whether this is true or false decides if we have this blurred background, and if we set it to false, this background is not blurred anymore. The next interesting setting is the search button position. We have two options for this position. The first is actions, which is what we're currently seeing here, where we have the search bar here at the top in the action bar, or we can also set this to nav. Save this really quick, and now the command plugin is shown in the nav bar. You can also enable a keyboard only mode. So if we press Command K, it is opened, but we can also set this whole thing to false. Search button is false, with a comma. And we don't have a button or a bar at all, but if we press Command K, we still see it. Next, what we might want to configure is which keyboard shortcuts lead actually to the opening. By default, or the most common is to use just the Command K, and this Meta, by the way, is for Command on Apple, and Control is for all the other devices. So, but we can also replace this with whatever we want. So if we just replace this with Meta plus B and Command or Control B, and we save this again, it is now opening on Control Command B. Next interesting and important setting is which collections it is supposed to ignore or to put in. In this case, we don't want it to search the user collection, but because by default, it takes in all collections that you have. The next interesting functionality is by default, this includes all the collections. So if we press here Command K or Command B, whatever, you see here media products, posts, and payload KV collection. These are by default there, but we can also append an actions section, and this we do with custom items. So in custom items, we can declare a group, in this case the action group, and here we can display our own components with a link. The interesting thing is that this does not only support links but also API calls. So what this means is that we can create an item in this actions that does not say go to posts, but maybe we created our own endpoint that says delete all posts, and this has the slug delete posts. And also another interesting thing is that this does support icons. So you reference Lucide icons here, and you can just add them for any type of item that's going to be linked here. Next, what we want to change is we have this action. We want to change the type to API, and we can set a method which can be delete or get or post. So we might have our own delete endpoint, and then we want to put in also an href, which can be API /post/ delete all, or whatever you set there. And if you open this and then if you click on the corresponding item, then you will be able to call whatever action you have there. The next interesting thing that we want to do is, if we close the custom items again, we want to have this submenu. What does this mean? If you open the products collection, for example, then you have here the possibility to search within a collection. This is only activated if you activate the submenu. So you need to enable it, you need to put shortcut enter. And what this means is that if you put in, or you see it here, shift enter, then it will open the submenu when you hit shift enter. And if you only hit enter, then it will open the collection. And if you set this to shift enter, if you set this to enter, then if you press enter, it will open the submenu. And if you hit shift enter, it will enter the collection. The next thing that we want to do is basically assign icons. So here we can assign to our slugs icons from Lucide. And yeah, if you configure this, we have the submenu, and see in this case the shopping cart items that are the shopping cart icon that is associated with products. Here, products shopping cart. The last thing that you might want to know about is the icons configuration of this plugin. So as already said, this by default supports Lucide icons, and you can assign these icons to all your collections, all your globals. So site settings is the slug of a global that we have, and we can assign it the settings icon, which we can see here. Or by default, the icon that is chosen is this document icon, but we also configure posts and products, which are, yes, for collections, we have posts and products. Now, that's it for this plugin. In total, what I would say is both of these are very interesting plugins, but they have a little bit of a different focus. If you lean more on very good search across different collections that is also supported by the Payload Search plugin, then you should go with the JHB plugin. If you lean more on the side, you want a cool command interface where you can adjust and append your own commands, then you should go with the command plugin from VeiaG. So this was it for this video. I hope it was helpful, and see you the next time.